You've been searching for the best way to generate passive income in your life and heard that real estate is a great way to do it. But you're tired of all the so-called gurus who are all talk and no substance. Get ready to celebrate because Kevin Bupp has spent 14 years successfully making it happen. This is the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast. Now, here's Kevin Bupp.
Hey guys, Kevin Bupp here, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast. Our mission is to help you build and maintain massive amounts of cash flow through income-producing real estate investments. Now, our guest for this week's show is commercial real estate developer and founder of SimonCRE, Josh Simon. Now, Josh began his career in commercial real estate back in 2004, and a few short years later ventured out on his own to start SimonCRE. As founder and CEO, Josh leads the company's growth strategy while directing the daily operations. He carries the torch for a team committed to developing projects that benefit clients and the communities that they serve. SimonCRE now develops retail properties all across the country, totaling roughly $120 million a year. To date, the company has completed over 170 projects in 22 states. And so with that, guys, I'm super excited to get onto the show with Josh. But before we do, I just have a few quick housekeeping items. Like I do each and every week, I like to share my one personal, one professional best of the prior week. So I'll start with the personal best. Now, my wife's grandmother, she comes each and every year from Poland just before the holidays, and she usually stays for a few months, sometimes as long as Easter time, but this year she left a little early. She's an absolutely incredible woman who, at the age of 92, takes a 4-hour bus ride all the way from her small village in Poland before hopping a 9-hour plane ride from Warsaw to New York and then jumping another plane down to Florida. All this by herself and without speaking a lick of English. Talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? Well, we were sad to see her go, and we wanted to surprise her with a departing gift to make her trip back a little bit more enjoyable. And so we basically upgraded her to first class all the way back home. And in addition to that, being that we want her to come back again, we promised her first class to and from Florida for as long as she would continue to make the trek to spend the holidays with us. And so we're surely going to miss Babcha, and we'll look forward to seeing her again later this year. As far as a professional best, I actually just got back from a very successful business trip up to Portland, Maine, where we are working on constructing a deal on a primo asset. And in a few weeks, I'll be divulging the nitty-gritty on what our team has been working on behind the scenes. I can tell you that we're super excited for what 2020 has in store and very much look forward to sharing the details of our up-and-coming investment offering that we're going to be rolling out here, which will be unlike anything that is currently available in the marketplace. So stay tuned for those details. And moving on here, guys, if you love what we're doing here at the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast and you feel that the show brings you value each and every week and you haven't done so already, please take a moment to go leave a review. It really helps us grow the show and helps us attract awesome future guests, okay? So it takes you just a minute. Leave that rating and review on iTunes. And lastly here, before we get on to the show with Josh, just want to remind you of the free 30-minute phone call that I offer each and every week. You can go to my website, kevinbupp.com, to sign up for that call. And this is where you and I can get on the phone together and talk about everything and anything your heart desires regarding real estate investing. There is no ulterior motive here. This is just really a way for me to connect. I've been doing these calls now for nearly 6 years. It's absolutely crazy how many folks I've connected with over that period of time. It's really enjoyable for me, and I just love talking to others that share a similar passion to real estate investing that I do. Okay, so again, go to kevinbupp.com to schedule that call. And now, guys, without further ado, I'd like to get on to the part of the show that you've been waiting for, which is our interview with Josh Simon. So here we go. Guys, it's my honor to introduce my guest for today's show, award-winning real estate developer and CEO and founder of SimonCRE, Josh Simon. Now, Josh is he's a repeat offender to the show, and I had to look back. It's crazy. It's literally been 3.5 years since we had him on the show. If you'd have asked me, I would have guessed it probably was like 1.5 years. It's amazing how time flies. I think the only thing that's really changed with me is I just got more gray hairs now than what I did back then. That was, again, but way back in episode number 19. to be exact. So if you want to get a little bit more of a background, in-depth dive of Josh's business back then, how it's morphed, we'll talk about a lot of the things that he's done over those last 3.5 years. He's grown his business by leaps and bounds. And so if you want to get a good primer, go back to episode 119 and be sure to listen to it. And so anyway, I wanted to bring it back on and see what he's been up to over these last couple of years. So with that, Josh, welcome back, buddy. How you been?
I've been good. You're talking about gray hairs, and I'm talking about just keeping what I have. Mine just, doesn't want to grow back anymore after these last few years.
Oh man, yeah. Well, yeah. To each his own. Right? We all go through our own struggles, right? I think my bad back and like gray hairs. I guess that's just a sign of old age. And nowadays, I just take a little bit more ibuprofen than what I used to on a regular basis, and but we work with it, right?
Yeah, and a couple extra ice packs laying around.
That's it. Well, I'm excited to have you back, buddy. Very much looking forward to getting an update from you. I know just before we started recording here, you gave me some insights as to really what has transpired over the last 3.5 years with the you and your business and the growth that you guys have had. You've just been on an awesome run here, and so very excited to take a deep dive and just learn about all the great things that have been going on. But just real quick, I know I had mentioned to the listeners that they want to get a good primer, go back and listen to episode number 119. But for those folks that might not do that, let's just go ahead and take just a couple of minutes and maybe you can give us the 10,000 foot view of your background and just talk a little bit about how you got into real estate, the starting of SimonCRE, and then we'll get up to speed here today as to what's going on in your business.
Yeah, so I started the company. This year is a big year for us, year number 10 in business. We started in 2010, and we're also celebrating deal number 200 this year of developments and properties that we've bought. I think 3.5 years ago, we were probably right at about 100. And so our acceleration in the last few years has continued to ramp up. And so I got in real estate, though, going back about 16 years on April Fool's Day coming up. It's 16 years. I got started in college as an intern, worked for a group, kind of learning, just kind of fell in love with it, became passionate. It wasn't work, and learned to develop all over the country, a lot of smaller market, shadow anchored next to like a Walmart or a grocery store retail space, and then started the company 2010, just figured it'd be a good time. And so, initially I had nothing and maybe like 40 grand to my name when I started the company. And we've built brick by brick with no partners. And so we've been very lucky to, continue to build over these 10 years. And, fast forward today, as I said, deal 200. 3.5 years ago, I think we're at probably 15 people. Today we're at 37 that work for SimonCRE and in a tech startup that we've kind of subsequently kind of spun off into its own group. So really fun and, exciting stuff.
That is exciting. And you had made a mention that last year alone you did, I believe you said 66 deals? Was that 2019?
Yeah, so we did 66 escrows, which include buy and sell. And so out of all of on our account, so we're not doing like third party sales or buy.
Sure.
So it was a banner year. And this year, we've seen, quarter. So first quarter of 2019 to first quarter of 2020, and we're not even done with the first quarter. There's been, as of today, a 400% increase in transaction volume for us to sell to investors like 1031 buyers versus last year. And we're expecting that and that's not even, the quarter's not over. So there's been a huge pickup in activity year over year to this point. Obviously, if, the time is, March 3rd of 2020 and we've got coronavirus fears, but we've seen a huge acceleration year over year.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that coronavirus thing, and we're not going to do any fear-mongering here, but we are going to have a discussion about that. But before we do that, I'd love to get some insights from you, Josh, as to just really, I guess, some of the bigger challenges that you faced over the last couple of years of substantial growth, and ultimately of those challenges, how you've overcome them. I'm assuming going from 16 to 37 employees in SimonCRE, and that's challenging in and of itself, just finding the right talent, the right butts for the right seats. But in addition to that, I'm sure there's many other challenges you guys have faced, and I'd love if you wouldn't mind elaborating on that a little bit.
Yeah, and so our primary business model is to develop retail space, not malls, single tenant, multi-tenant retail. And so retail has been painted with a big brush. So there's a very just kind of have a black eye to the general public overall, even though the retail that we're doing is really successful. So you have that first thing kind of against you when you are a retail developer. And then I think the next challenge is every time you double in size, you have growth challenges. Do you have the right people in the right spot? Like the people that were some of the original team, can they grow with you to that next level? And that's not always the case. And so I think part of it, and sometimes it is. And so we're blessed that we've spent so much time creating like a really strong culture that our turnover is pretty much nothing. Very rarely do we have any turnover. If it is, it's probably just, it's not working for us as the employer. And so, we've spent a lot of time really refining our hiring and making sure we put them, the process that we hire from is really well thought out. Are they the right culture fit? And I think that comes down to, so many people have like core values and, their mission statement, their vision statement, but they don't actually live them or hire off of them. We've made it a point that like our core values are who we are. And if you look, be first, be fast, persist is like our biggest one. That's who we are. And if you come to work here, if you're not fast, you don't want to be first, and you're not persistent, it's probably the wrong organization for you to be at.
Yeah. Have you found that it's been fairly easy to flush out those that might make it through the door, but ultimately aren't that right culture fit?
Oh yes, because we're very transparent. Like this is how we operate, and you can feel it in the office. And so, and that's been, and then the next, like when you grow, like my role has changed where, 3.5 years ago, I was probably way more in the details, and I still know pretty much all the things going on, but my job has evolved into be more of a, a mentor, a teacher. We do a weekly it's called Learning with Josh. That's open to anybody in the company. It's 30 minutes a week where I will present a video and we'll talk about something, a lot of business psychology stuff. And so that people understand how I operate. Right. And since we have so many new folks and how, the way we want business done and the way things should be done, because people have a lot of false notions out there.
I love that. That's something you do weekly?
Mm-hmm.
Give me an example of like maybe one of the past weeks, like what the topic of the video was and what the discussion revolved around.
So this last week we had a conversation, watched a short video on just biology. And as silly as that sounds in business, biology, like the way we think and act is meant we just take care of our survival, right? Our nervous systems are only set up to see what's in front of us and to like take care of ourselves right then. Hey, we never thought, just up until a couple hundred years ago, right? Life expectancy was still like under 40 years of age. And so we only worried about how do we feed ourselves that night? Where do we sleep that night? How do we keep warm? And so people forget to think about much longer horizons of time. And so what the conversation is, hey, how do you kind of break out of that? That's your, fight or flight, survival mechanism every day, and think about things in longer horizons of time. And so that was kind of one of many topics that we discuss each week.
Is this something that you actually do? And I'm sorry asking all these questions about this one particular thing, but I think that's awesome. That's the first time I've heard, and I'm sure that other companies might have, different evolutions of that, but that's the first I've heard of like a weekly, lesson put on by like the CEO or founder of a company, and to where it's engaging and interactive with the employees. So is this something that you actually do in your office? That's a structured environment, or?
Yeah, we do it in the conference room. It's open to anyone who wants to do it. Like I said, it's 30 minutes, usually a video or go through a paper, and then it's a very interactive conversation. Like, hey, how do you see that applying to things you're doing? Because a lot of people forget about, like our business today is, in any business, it's still a lot of them is still a people business. And so how do you get people to help you out? How do you create identity, so that when people want to call you back, what is a highly valued accomplishment so that you can speak to that? And like, what do I value? Because so many people, like, they just go through the motions of life, but hey, what do I need to do to get a raise? Right. Well, I'm telling the things like, hey, this is how you create value.
No, I
right?
love
When
that,
you
bud.
forward me an email, just don't forward me the email. I want you to give me your assessment.
Give me a
Tell me
narrative.
why. Yes, why you think we should do that. Here's why I think, Josh. Here's why I should do it. And then I just want to be able to say agree, or if I disagree, I like the critical thinking. So I'm
Yes.
trying to push our team to just continue to step up in
I
those
love
ways.
it, man. You need to start doing those things on Facebook Live. I'm dead serious. I mean, if you talk about like actually attracting additional talent as you guys continue to grow, assuming that you're going to continue growing from this point moving forward, which I'm guessing that you are, talk about creating like a thriving just buzz around everything that SimonCRE does. Put those things on Facebook Live, like do them real time as you're actually doing them in the conference room, and that'd be awesome. I'd watch them. So
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
I want to learn the brain of Josh Simon. I want to be in the brain of Josh Simon and what he's doing on a daily and weekly basis. So anyway, just an idea. So you had made a comment in the beginning regarding, some of the challenges, and one of them being kind of the broad brush stroke that folks paint on retail. Everyone talks about, Amazon is the retail killer, and you got drones that are going to start, basically dropping gifts off or merchandise off at your home and your office, and you're not going to have to go to a retail center. And then you got self-driving vehicles and ride-sharing services and all this crap that is supposed to be the real threat of retail. And I know that that's created some challenges for you, but let's talk about some of those threats and how much of a reality they really are, at least in your focus of the retail side of things, which are typically single tenant. I know you do a lot of dollar stores, you do a lot of auto parts stores, and I'm sure that you've expanded beyond that as well. So maybe speak to that a little bit, some of those threats and why it's not really that big of a threat to your particular business model.
Well, yeah, and so we focus, I think look, in the people that have gotten, hit the hardest in retail are the middle market focus, right? Kohl's, JCPenney, where the discounters have done really, really well, and the luxury goods, as a typical whole, have done, they're kind of insulated because they know their consumer. It's the people in the middle that don't really have a proposition, to give the customer anything, that have suffered. And so, for example, like a retailer that's really like starting, obviously Walmart, and then Target. You look at Target, that 70 or I think it's 75 or 85% of their digital sales are picked up from the store, or they have like this parking lot thing where you can pull into the parking lot now too. So like the folks are still going into the store. And so look, technology is changing the way everybody does business. And for so long, Wall Street was telling all these retailers, increase store count. And then, so now you've seen, all right, invest in technology. And so look, Amazon has its place. They are brilliant at what they do, and they're good at it. But you back out their, AWS, the Amazon Web Services, they don't make any money. They lose money in retail. And so look, it's challenged everybody to step up. And like for our business, we continue to thrive because we kind of typically have focused on the lower end of the market, the lower income type segment, and the things that are harder to replace online, like auto parts, right? O'Reilly Auto Parts, for example, they do a huge distribution. It's not just selling to you as the consumer, but they have all the dealers, surrounding them that fix your car. They get parts through O'Reilly. And so they need that same day part. They need to be able to go in there and talk to somebody. Dollar General has opened, roughly 1,000 stores every year since we spoke 3.5 years ago. Probably about 3,500 stores since then. And Dollar General is not a true dollar store. It's more of a general store. They've got, they've been rolling out more food to their stores and more non-consumables, and you've seen like they're continuing to grow and serving a niche. And for us, like we see, hey, those segments are great for us, but we're under construction on several multi-tenant centers. One's a 27,000 square foot shopping center, sits right up on the road. It's got a bunch of different restaurants, nail salon, workout type facility. And in fact, too, we're not quite ready to announce, but we're going under contract to develop a 65 acre retail project ground up. So we're very contrarian. I think there's always going to be a place for retail because you need things to do, but it's about creating. You can't just build it and let them come. You have to create a reason for them to stay, and that means the landlord and tenants working together, sharing information and creating a better shopping experience.
Got it. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's interesting. I didn't realize that, speaking of like O'Reilly and these different auto parts stores, I didn't realize that part of their business model is actually being a distributor or supplier to the different mechanics in the local area. I had no idea that I thought it was all retail-based sales. Joe that wants to fix his own car and wants to buy a muffler or buy a part. I didn't realize that they actually serviced all the actual mechanics and repair shops in the area. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a very stable bet then, knowing that it's got those multiple streams. So, before we start recording, we talked about the coronavirus. I know that we're such in the infancy of how this is all going to play out, but it's something that, keeps me up awake. Like I think about it ultimately, even just the disruptor that might occur from not sending my kids to school, right? Like saying, hey, like you're going to stay from home. You're going to stay at home for however long it takes before this is no longer a threat, which could be quite a long time, right? How does that ultimately, what are some of the potential concerns in your business, in the development world, in the retail world, to where coronavirus could cause some major disruptions? Have you given any thought to that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if people are afraid of big public gatherings, they're not going to want to go to a shopping center, right? Mm-hmm. If the subcontractor gets sick, now you have issues getting projects done on time, and then there's delays and damages. I mean, it's a ripple effect. You saw the Fed this morning took a pretty drastic move and cut the Fed funds rate by 50 basis points. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get out in front of that. Look, my personal opinion, I think it's a little overblown. It is the flu. Children, so worrying about sending your child to school, to date, they say that children are pretty much, if they're just carriers and they're not getting sick, mm-hmm. like adults are. And so look, I think it has to work itself through. There's too much fear mongering. Go stock up on all this stuff. Well, yeah, wash your hands, people. Practice good hygiene. Like I think it's just the flu, and it's more of, hey, just making sure people practice that better hygiene. I think it's little steps. If somebody's sick, stay home. But we are going to create something that's not there. Bulls don't die. Bull markets don't die of old age. They die because people start to freak out like they are right now. Yes. And so I think it's for calmer heads to prevail right now and say, hey, this will be okay. It's going to work itself through. But it's not like it's I look back to 1996 when the Outbreak movie, or 1999, when it's like Ebola or whatever.
Ebola, yeah.
It's not that. And so I think people need to really understand what it is. And that's the news media creating this, this sensational story to, sell more time on it for ads.
Oh my God, I remember that movie Outbreak. I was a teenager, and that scared the crap out of me. That was a scary movie.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't have additional context around it, it's like, whoa, that's real? This monkey could cause all this problem? Anyway, so just for folks that are listening, I want to get some better clarity as exactly what your business model is. So you guys develop these mostly single tenant. I know you have a bunch of other projects going, but today a lot of your focus has been on these, the Dollar Generals, the auto parts stores, what have you. You're a developer, so you do the site selection. You've got the relationship with the brand, and then ultimately, once that product is finished, you guys sell it to an end buyer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're a merchant developer overall. And so we, have relationships with brokers, tenants, and then so we go into a project with a plan. We just find that a lot of people will, what we in our business call tie things up, and then they'll go fishing for tenants or interest to try to figure it out. We try to circumvent that by having the plan kind of already ready to go. And so that we're able to move much quicker on and do more volume. And so that's been our business model, so far. And we continue to see, like, in the future, that will be a part of it. Our goal is to do more acquisitions, though. The biggest thing for us was, hey, no partners, no outside equity in the sense of as a partner in our deals. And so what we've been able to do is, our eventual kind of our BHOG, big, hairy, audacious goal in the company is to own $1 billion of assets. And to do that, you have to have a lot of cash. And so our goal is we're building the foundation to build the skyscraper. And so for us, it's, hey, we want to make sure that we have a lot of cash. I mean, too many developers, live from week to week and, put money on one pocket from the other. And, and so we want to take it, we're in it for the long run. And so we're taking a different tact when it comes to that. And so, now our goal is to continue to develop, but then also looking at buying opportunities and acquisitions, because there's not many groups that have built a company like this during this period of time, which is arguably one of the hardest periods of time for retail. And then also just how fast things are changing. We've been able to build our business model during this period of time.
Mm-hmm. No, that's interesting. Just help me break down what a merchant developer is. I want to learn what the efficiencies of your business, where they really lie. And so being a merchant developer, does that mean that basically you've got the relationship? Let's just use Dollar General. Let's just pick one. Let's use Dollar General. So you're a preferred developer for Dollar General. And does it essentially work such as they come to you and say, Josh, we want to be in XYZ markets or sub-markets, what have you. Like they put the dots on the map. We want to be in these locations. Here's some of the criteria we're seeking. You guys utilize your broker relationships to go identify those parcels of land, pieces of property that will ultimately fit Dollar General's criteria. You develop the product and ultimately sell it to the end buyer. I mean, is that in a nutshell what your business is?
Yeah. And you should be one now. You already know how to do it.
No, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to simplify
it is that
seemingly complex business. I'm trying to simplify for the purpose of the listener, just so we can absolutely have clarity as to what the business model is. And really the beautiful thing of your business, and I think that I love efficiencies, right? When you can truly find the necessary path to build a scalable business, and I think. Relationships are very challenging to build. I know they've taken you years and years of not just building a relationship, but like proving that relationship, actually doing exactly what you say you're going to do, right? I'm sure there's a ton of people out there that would love to be in your shoes that have tried to, build these strong relationships with these different retailers that have failed, or maybe they've done a couple projects here and there, but no one has actually, not many have built a large scalable company such as yours. So I don't want to overly simplify it here, but the beautiful thing for your business is that you kind of have some marching orders, which is nice, right? Like here's the marching orders. Go find, in these markets, these retailers are looking for this. You know exactly what they're seeking. You've done other projects for them. And so very quickly you can identify what's going to work and what is going to work. And you can run after it really fast. Right? I mean, I like that. I love that type of business model. That's exciting to me because then it's just, how fast can we run? And, let's conquer the world. Let's do it.
Yeah. And that's exactly how kind of a merchant relationship works. And what's nice is it really becomes a partnership. So we look at our tenants as like, you're in a partnership, right? You might be on opposing sides of the table from a landlord-tenant perspective, but we both have aligned goals. And when you're doing repetitive business, like, look, you're all in it together. And then also it lowers your transaction costs. So for the client, for the tenant, like, they're able to build that trust, and it's not like starting all over again each time with a new developer, a new lease, and then just going through the motions. We know the cost, like what it costs to build. They know what it costs to build. So it creates a really good relationship, and we're really thankful for our partners because without them, obviously, we would not be here today.
What is the typical time frame? And I know that there's variances there, but what is the typical time frame from point in time where you guys identify a site to you actually have a end product available for sale for the end user, for the buyer?
It really varies on market. So, for example, like California can be years. California is probably literally the worst.
Why is everything so much more challenging in California? I just don't get it. That's another discussion.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. But they just have some very challenging environmental laws when it comes to developing new stuff that just makes it very cost prohibitive, and it influences very political decision making. And so but even going up, into the Northwest, you have a little more complication, just from, the water, lots of stormwater management. So you could be from, on the West Coast, typically from the time you identify a site, you're probably anywhere from 8 to 12 months of entitlements and getting building permits, assuming no rezoning, no craziness. And then you're probably another 5 to 6 months of building. And so, 10 years ago or 8 years ago when, the market wasn't, kind of accelerating again with new projects, I mean, construction would have been 4 months. And, to get that same project approved, you probably would have been a couple months faster because everyone wasn't so busy. And so, but then go to the Midwest and, some areas in the Midwest, smaller markets, you could probably have permits in, 3 to 6 months. So it really just depends on the site. But, I would say average 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, got it. Now, I'm assuming that you guys, you're in many different markets, many different states. Your construction team is not vertically integrated, correct? So you guys you have a construction department, but you sub out to GCs in whatever respective market you're building in?
Correct. And it also gives you, because not everyone's meant to do that, a certain product type. The person that's really good with a retail project in the Northwest won't be the same type of contractor that understands how to build retail in the Midwest, or different product types from medical to office or industrial. So you really have to figure out the right group. And what we found today is just, especially today, and there's so much work going on, subcontractors don't want to travel, so because there's work close to home. And so especially on the West Coast, like the group you use, you will not use the GCs. will usually travel with you. Like the Western region, we can probably pull people from, California to go up to Oregon or Washington, or vice versa. Subcontractors don't travel like that.
Got it. No, that makes sense. So the GCs go to another market in that region and basically have to go finding subs for that particular project.
Exactly. And so because we find it's important that the GC really understands what we're building, because if they build, for example, multiple Dollar Generals, they understand the Dollar General building the process, and it makes it easier than starting fresh with a brand new contractor sometimes. But that's also our job, and part of our, the way we create efficiency is, hey, we've got a team that can teach you. And so we're one of our, I think, many competitive advantages is, hey, we can take a project and we can turn it around right away, where most of our competition typically has been, one person with a few admin help, for example. And so we're really able to just lock and load and move so fast, which gives us I think, a pretty distinct advantage in today's marketplace.
Yeah. As far as on the finished product side, and I know there's a range based on primary to secondary, tertiary markets where these, but speaking to like a Dollar General or these auto parts stores, give me a range as far as cap rates, from primary to maybe a tertiary market. What range are these selling for in today's world?
Yeah, so I'll just focus on West Coast, because obviously everything changes. Capital migration is so strong. There's so much capital on the West Coast. And so what we find is once an investor leaves like an hour and a half flight, so let's just call it, Arizona, Denver, and then kind of cutting back Vegas, Utah, Oregon, Washington. Once they kind of leave that direct area, you see a little bit of a drop off. I would say, at least from what I'm seeing today, like Dollar Generals in the Midwest are trading at like 7 caps, where in the West Coast, though, that will be, between 75 and 100 basis points lower. And so for Dollar General in Arizona, if it's in Phoenix Metro, that's going to trade in the high 5s today. And then rural Arizona is going to be in the low 6, like 6.25 to 6.4. What we're seeing is there's a lack of new supply of any product. People are fleeing multifamily in the smaller price points because of all the rent control. So you have two big macroeconomic things happening. Baby boomers retiring, and so they don't want to manage their duplexes, right? They would just want to get an income stream and enjoy their golden years. And then second thing is this rent control stuff, which is happening. It's happened in Washington and California, and all these things are pushing people out of the market. They just don't want to deal with it. And so they're going into, they're 1031ing into different product types, which includes the single tenant retail. And they're looking for stability of cash flow, no maintenance, and good credit.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So would you say that the typical profile of your buyer is a 1031 buyer, or do you find that you have some one-offs that are, they're putting some, some leverage or debt in there, and they're buying, one store here, one store there, and smaller time investors that aren't, 1031ing, $10 million out of California or somewhere else in the West Coast?
Yeah, I think it's mostly 1031ing, but there are a lot of investors that are just looking to place money. You have a lot of REITs that are also buyers of product that are trying to fill their buckets for different types of tenants. And so it's a combination, but I would say mostly is 1031 buyers.
Got it. And what type of debt is available on a product like this?
It depends on what kind of debt you want to set up. Well, how much leverage you want to have. We find most of at least from what we've seen, most of the buyers are either all cash or very low leverage loans because they're 1031ing, which means they have a pretty substantial gain. We've sold quite a few assets to REITs, and so typically they just pay in cash and then they'll securitize it as a package later.
Got it.
So we're not as privy to those details.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, fair enough. Well, Josh, I'd love to move on here to what we call the lightning round. This is where we're going to get a little bit personal with you and just give our listeners an opportunity to get to know you as an individual. And so let's get started. 6 questions, look for 6 short, concise answers. And the first one being your biggest fear, man. What is it?
Failing. I think if you're not afraid to fail, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. How about your one biggest regret?
I don't have regrets. I think every decision you make, you have to own it and live with it. And you just wake up the next day trying to be a better person.
I agree, man. That's my answer to that question as well. How about most influential book that you've read?
So I read like 20, 30 books a year. So I'm going to go in the last 18 months and I'm going to say the Principles book by Ray Dalio.
That's a great one. 20, 30 books a year. Let's talk about that. Are you, do you actually read physical books or is it audio books? How do you consume nearly 30 books? So let's say a book every 2 weeks. How does that work?
It's physical books. I'm like a kind of a book nerd in that sense. Pretty much every book I read is self-help books.
Yep.
And so I'm a huge learner, and I think the day you stop learning is the day you start dying.
No, I agree. I guess the question is, are you like have you taken some speed reading courses? To where you can pretty much scan through a book 2 or 3 times faster than the normal reader?
I'd say I'm a pretty quick reader. And then I travel a lot. So, on the flights, I tend to, take some time to do that.
Perfect time. Yep. Perfect time on flights to do that. How about outside the daily work grind? What do you do to decompress?
Mountain bike and hiking.
Okay. Good deal. And then the one thing that you can't live without, what is it?
Well, I'm getting married this summer, so I'm going to say my fiance.
In case she listens to this.
In case she listens to this. But
yes. Absolutely.
Second to that, I would say my iPhone. So.
Wow. Okay. Good deal. Yeah. It's amazing how we rely on technology now, right? And business doesn't even work without that iPhone handy. How about the last one here would be one day you wake up, you just decide for whatever reason, like, you know what, I've had my run with SimonCRE. It's been fun. It's been lucrative. We've helped a lot of people, but I just don't want to do this anymore. What would you do with your time? Where would you focus your efforts?
I would want to try to teach and make the world a better place. I think leaving the world in a better place is like probably the ultimate thing you could do for society. And so I'd want to make my mark in some way.
Those weekly Josh moments, man. I'm telling you, FaceTime Live, that's it. That's the next stage.
Yep, I like that idea. I'm going to have to talk to our marketing team and see what they think, right? Got to get the sign off from the important people.
Lastly here, Josh, what advice would you give for beginner developer that has an interest in the model that you utilize with SimonCRE? Like, what's just the general advice that you give someone getting started that wants to do their first development project? Do you have any?
I would say like the biggest impact for me has always been mentorship, and mentorship doesn't have to be like an official, like you are my mentor and I meet with you once a month. It's more of a relationship of somebody that wants to help and just meet with occasionally, whether it's quarterly or whatever. Those make the biggest impacts of how to do things the right way. And then just, hey, persistence. I think persistence is such a big key today.
Yeah, no, I agree with you as far as the mentor side of things. And I think, one of the suggestions I always give for someone that's looking to get into a particular asset class or type of investing, or become a developer, it doesn't really matter, whatever angle you want to approach as far as real estate is concerned. But, there is a national association, also state associations that pertain to whatever asset class or specialty niche you want to be in. Go join those, go to the events and get to know the players that are there. And I'd say that to me, that seems like the most direct source or direct way of actually meeting others that are doing exactly what you want to do, and ultimately could become, your good close friend or, quasi mentor. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, good deal. Well, Josh, it's been a pleasure having you back on, my friend. Always good catching up. Next time we'll not have to make it 3.5 years. I'll be completely gray by then. Hopefully you'll be looking better than I by that point. And no, I'm joking.
I'll probably be bald by then, but yes.
No,
it'll be interesting to see what 3.5 more years has in store for everybody.
Yeah, no. Excited for all the future growth that you guys have coming down the pike, man. You guys have been just making amazing things happen. So kudos to you. And guys, if you want to learn more about Josh and his firm, you can visit his website. It's SimonCRE.com. Again, SimonCRE.com. And so thank you, Josh, for coming on. And guys, thank you for tuning into this week's show. And until we meet again next week, this is your host, Kevin Bupp, wishing you huge success. You guys take care.
Congratulations! Now you've got more of the best tricks of the trade in building massive amounts of passive income from real estate. For more amazing resources, visit realestateinvestingforcashflow.com. And we'll see you next Monday morning.